On today's show, we'll break down men and women's basketball, men's track, women's lacrosse, men's tennis, women's rowing, baseball, and softball.
And we'll speak with GW basketball coach Mike Lonergan about the Colonials' first ever postseason championship. All that coming up right now here on Unstoppable.
From the School of Media and Public Affairs at the George Washington University, you're watching Unstoppable with Casey Decker and Sean Grant.
For the first time ever, GW basketball has ended its season on a victory. After missing the big dance and getting only a 4 seed in the NIT, the Colonials made a huge run. They beat Hofstra on a buzzer beater, then upset Monmouth, Florida, and San Diego State before taking on top-seeded Valparaiso in the finale at Madison Square Garden.
And in that finale, we witnessed a strong performance from senior Kevin Larson, who dropped 18 points and grabbed 5 rebounds. The team played well as a whole, as they only committed 8 turnovers all game and shot 42% from beyond the three-point arc. And now, Casey, this consistent performance that we saw from the Colonials was something, I believe was evident throughout the entire tournament. And, I got to sit down with Matt Hart the other day, and he said to me, once the Colonials missed the NCAA tournament, it was kind of a wake-up call for them. And they said, we're going to play the best basketball that we can, and we want to go out and prove to everybody that we are, in fact, a good basketball team.
Yeah, and we saw consistent fundamental basketball throughout the tournament, something that we didn't necessarily see in many parts of the regular season. I think if that was the team we had seen all season, we would have had an even better result than we did.
Well, and if you want to talk about consistency, I think we should also talk about Tyler Kavanaugh. And in that tournament, he was unbelievable. He dropped about 20 points and 11 rebounds just about every game. And he's only a junior, so we look for him, to play even better next season.
Absolutely. It's going to be terrific to have him again next year. One thing that we're going to miss out on next year is Kevin Larson, who, as you mentioned, had a great tournament. I'd actually call him the MVP of the tournament. He had many games where he had double-digit rebounds and double-digit points. He was a terrific all-around player and really showed up in the tournament.
Well, and you love to see that from your seniors, and you get that leadership.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the real leader of this team is head coach Mike Lonergan. He's taken the team to 3 consecutive winning seasons, broken the program record for most wins in a season, and, of course, coached the Colonials to an NIT championship. I sat down with him to discuss this historic season and the future of Colonial basketball. Take a look. So, first of all, Coach, congratulations on the win. Madison Square Garden, GW's first ever postseason championship. What did that mean to you and your career?
Well, I think it was great. I think it means a lot to our players and our university. And, it makes up for the disappointment not making the NCAA tournament, which is our ultimate goal. But I think by making a great run and winning the whole thing, everything worked out for the best.
When you missed the NCAA tournament, getting passed over for that, how did you motivate the team past that and playing through the tournament in the NIT?
Well, it was difficult. I just kind of left them alone for a day. We were all pretty sad and disappointed. We worked so hard to try to reach that goal. We had a great non-conference schedule and had a lot of quality wins. We just probably lost one too many games. But I just told them they still have a chance to leave their legacy, a chance to cut down the nets and get to Madison Square Garden and, prestigious tournament, and get on ESPN a lot of games. So for the seniors, I told them we just want to keep playing. It's great exposure for our university, but also for those guys who are trying to play professionally after graduating. So they were pretty good. The first game was tough with Hofstra, but then I thought our guys really loosened up and played the best basketball we played all season.
So strategy-wise, what did you focus on that you think made your team so much more dominant in the NIT than we had seen in some of the games just before that?
I mean, really defense. We had tried to emphasize it and focus on it all year. I just had trouble getting the guys to play at a high level with consistent effort at the defensive end. We had a great scoring team. But I think the job that Yuta Watanabe did on Justin Robinson at Monmouth just got our guys to take a lot of pride in defense. And then from that point on, we were just shutting teams down, and we were beating a lot of good teams by big margins. Yeah. And I think it really started with our defense.
What did it mean to you to have your 4 seniors go out on a win?
Well, it meant a lot because they're kind of going to be judged on this season. I told them I'll have other opportunities to get back in the big dance, but this was it for them. They did a great job, putting our program back on the map. But I wanted them to do more than just make an NCAA tournament and win an NIT game, which we had done the 2 previous years. Mm-hmm. So for them, I think they can come back with a lot of pride when they come back to homecoming and come back to our campus. So I couldn't be happier for those guys because when they came here, our program was down, and they helped us lay a new foundation for success. And they can always feel great about what they did for our basketball program.
How will you adapt next year to not having some of these key seniors?
Well, it's going to be hard. Those guys knew our system. They could almost coach themselves. We'll have a lot of inexperience, but we still got a great nucleus. I think, guys like Tyler Kavanaugh, he could be one of the best players in the conference now. Yuta Watanabe, and Jaron Cena, who sat out this year after transferring from Seton Hall. Those three guys have all proven they can play at a high level. I think young man Jordan Rowland will make a big jump. And I think we have one of the best recruiting classes I've ever had coming in here this summer.
So what are some of the strengths in that recruiting class? What's the team going to look like next year?
Well, we're really going to miss our seniors, and we'll miss Kevin Larson. He's the most skilled big man I've ever coached. But we have three young men coming in that I think are terrific post players. So I think we'll have more depth at the post position. And one of those guys will probably have to start right away. I think Kevin Marfo has a great chance to do that. He's played at the highest level at AAU and for Worcester Academy, top New England prep school, and he's a rebounding machine. So I think he'll really complement Tyler well in a different way than Kevin did.
So NIT championship, obviously it's a great accomplishment. At the beginning of the year, though, it did look like potentially the season could have ended even better, beating UVA, getting ranked number 20. So relative to the potential success for the season, to what extent do you consider this season a success?
Well, I consider it a great success. I mean, if we lost to Hofstra in the first round of the NIT, I'd really been disappointed. Our goal is still going to be to make the NCAA tournament. But for us to beat the CAA champions, the MAC champions, and then to beat a storied program like Florida, and then I felt that San Diego State and Valpo, both were deserving of NCAA bids. So this was one of the strongest fields ever in the NIT. A lot of those teams could not only make the NCAAs, but win games, and we felt the same way about us. So I think it was a great success to win 28 games. And looking back, even if we make the NCAA tournament in the future years, I don't know if we'll ever have a season where we beat so many name programs and so many of the top programs in the country.
So you mentioned that the NIT is good exposure for some of the players maybe who are looking to go into the professional field. It's also exposure for you to some other schools. I know the ESPN commentators are mentioning a lot of the times that you might be being recruited by some larger schools. Have you been hearing from larger schools trying to get you to come on board?
Yeah, that's happened. Definitely happened more this year than ever. But I really had no interest. I mean, financially, it's very lucrative what those schools can offer you. But this is my home. My family comes to all the games. My dad, my 4 sisters, my own 5 children, my wife, and all my friends live here. So this is it. This is my last stop. I love GW. I came here to build a top 25 program. We're not there yet. We've definitely showed signs. So I don't think there's any chance of me leaving.
Well, Casey, it's certainly good to hear that Coach Lonergan is in this for the long haul. But now let's move on to women's basketball, where the biggest story is the recent resignation of head coach Jonathan Sippes, a story that was, in fact, broken by GW-TV before any other campus media. While the exact reasons for Sippes' resignation are unclear, it is apparent that Sippes wants to try and rebuild the Wisconsin women's team, just as he has done with the GW women's team since his arrival in 2012.
During his tenure here, Sippes had a 92-38 record and brought the Colonials to 2 straight A-10 championships and back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Sean, given his great success here, why do you think he's taking off?
Well, I'm going to stand by what I said previously, Casey. I believe that he wants to go on to yet another team and do what he's been able to do here. He took a GW women's team that had been struggling in a few years before he came in, and I think he wants to go over to now a Wisconsin women's team that I believe they've had 4 or 5 sub-500 seasons, and I think he wants to go on and rebuild that program just like he's done before.
I do agree that the idea of accomplishment, the idea of achievement has got to be a motivation in this decision. However, I don't think we can ignore that Wisconsin is a Big Ten school.
Yes.
It's going to pay a Big Ten salary, have a Big Ten fan base, and he'll probably have a little bit more freedom there too. It's just in general, it's a larger school. It's quite the allure.
Right. Well, and I think we talked the other day. We talked about when you're trying to build up a resume. He's rebuilt this GW team. He wants to rebuild that Wisconsin team, and who knows where he wants to end up eventually. He could end up. Might want to end up at a big school like Duke or Stanford, maybe something like that. But he definitely wants to build up a good track record before he goes on to those big schools. He wants to be able to show that he can rebuild these programs.
Certainly. Well, we're going to go to break now. When we come back, our Unstoppable correspondents have an in-depth look at several more Colonial sports. Stay tuned.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry. It's our call, our challenge. Because when you are called to Washington, you are called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
We have a big problem on college campuses, and it's on us to stop it.
It's happening at bars, at parties, even in residence halls.
It's happening to our friends, and it's happening to our teammates.
It's called sexual assault, and it has to stop.
There's no consent, or someone can't consent.
It's rape. It's assault.
It's wrong, and it's a crime.
If I saw it happening, I would do something about it.
If I saw it happening, I'd speak up.
If I saw it happening, I'd help, not blame.
Because I don't want to be part of the problem.
I want to be part of the solution.
We need all of you to be part of the solution.
This is about respect. It's about responsibility.
It's up to all of us to put an end to sexual assault.
Because one is too many.
And it's on us to stop it.
Great journalism matters because it's critical to a democracy that the public is informed and engaged and involved. And that happens by having credible information. And so the most important thing, whatever the delivery platform, whatever the technology, whatever the business model, is that the information itself is coming in solid and important ways and is being conveyed in compelling ways because there's so much noise and competition out there. And so that's what I really want our students to be able to do, be brilliant storytellers, keen observers, and compelling communicators.
Welcome back to Unstoppable. Now, let's move on to men's track. In their most recent meet, the Colonial Relays in Williamsburg, Virginia, several Colonials set personal records, including Ryan Tucker, who shattered his own school record in the 5,000-meter run with a time of 14 minutes and 35 seconds, a 34-second improvement on the previous school record.
But, well, you know, Casey, Tucker wasn't the only one who had a fantastic meet, and there were a bunch of other Colonials who were able to shatter school records or set their own personal records. One of those was Jordan Pantalon, who set his own PR in the steeplechase. There were 3 new PRs set in the 3,000-meter run. That was Seamus Ronnie, Charles Arnold, and our very own Andy Weber. Congratulations to Andy. And finally, there was a new school record set in the distance medley relay of a team of Chris Schaefer, Sawyer Bilton, Jordan Pantalon, and Ryan DePinto. So congratulations to those Colonials. They had a very good meet.
Absolutely. Great to hear so many of our athletes doing so well.
Yes. And now, our own Amanda Berman sat down with senior captain Ryan Tucker.
This season looks to be one of the best for senior and captain Ryan Tucker. Breaking many of his personal records, Tucker leads the team with his times and his dedication to the sport.
It's always great when you PR in a race. I think that's probably the most rewarding experience a runner could really have for themselves. And I think a lot of those times, the milestones that I've hit recently were a long time coming, so it feels good to finally break through those barriers. And yeah, of course, I'll always be trying to one-up my own personal records.
After 4 years, Tucker has formed an incredible bond with his teammates and is sad to leave them behind when he graduates.
Just overall, really thankful for the experience to get to be part of this athletic community. Our coach always tells us, being an athlete, you're not like other students. You have a lot more commitment. You have a lot harder work to do, but the payoff is just as great, and you're never going to have another 4 years like this where you could, you have these great group of guys. You're hanging out with your best friends for 3 or 4 hours every day. Sometimes it's not fun running in the rain or the snow, but I think overall it just develops these great relationships with all these great guys.
Tucker has high hopes for the team in the next few years and wishes them the best.
Scenario, I think that the cross-country team could really establish themselves as a top 5 team in the conference consistently. Definitely have to make a name for themselves.
For GWTV's Unstoppable, this is Amanda Berman.
Taking a look now at women's lacrosse, where the team has just entered A10 play. The Colonials are struggling after the loss of several key seniors, including GW's all-time leader in assists, Jamie Bumgarner. So far, they are just 2-8 and trying to find ways to turn around the season.
Sean, I want to point out this is a pretty young team led by a handful of key seniors, and they're doing well in terms of getting possessions and starting to attack on the goal. The problem is they can't seem to turn those possessions into points. They have a problem finishing the plays. So if they can find a way to get the ball into the net when they make these attacks, right, I think they can get some momentum, maybe have a better end to the year.
Well, and we hope that they obviously can do this. But, Casey, you and I got to see some of these factors firsthand when we went out to the Mount Vernon campus to watch their game.
Well, the season has not gone as planned so far for the women's lacrosse team, as they currently sit at a 2-8 record. The team does possess several strengths that they can build upon. Coach Coyne broke it down for us.
Last season was a good introduction to the team and kind of what things that we needed to work on. I feel like this season it's been because I've had a year and a half with the girls, or almost, yeah, it's been about a year and a half. I know them better, I understand what will make us successful, and I think they've been very receptive to my coaching, and they've been working very hard to get better. I think we're a totally different team. I think we have multiple people who can score. I think that the players that we did lose have made valuable contributions to the program, but I think our scoring is a little more distributed this year.
Our strengths are definitely redefending. I think all the other teams are a little bit nervous when they have to transition the ball. A lot of our attackers are very fast, so they always get that back check. Also, I would say our defense is a little bit unique because we are able to transition from different types of defenses.
So, we certainly hope that the girls will be able to build on these strengths and improve in the future. Reporting for GWTV Unstoppable, I'm Sean.
Now, let's move on to men's tennis. So far, the GW team has been having an okay season. Right now, the team is hovering at around 500 at 10-8, but they're also 2-0 in conference matchups. A good sign as they head into the A10 tournament next week. The squad's lead doubles team of Julius Tavarionis and Daniel Zelenkov is on fire. They've won 9 consecutive matches and have an astounding 18-2 record. Now our own Danny Gill spoke with GW tennis players.
Thanks, Sean and Casey. I'm here on the Vern campus with the men's tennis team. Let's go see what they're up to.
The GW men's tennis team is made up of 8 players from all over the world. Their interim coach, Torrie Browning, has been leading the team over the past few months after head coach Greg Munoz resigned for personal reasons back in February. Munoz was a coach at GW for 10 years. However, Browning has led the Colonials into the A10 conference this year and hopes are high. I got a chance to talk to Coach Browning and a few of her players.
When you come here, it's all about the team. You fight for the team, and I think it gives you like a little push, especially like when in the tough situations, you know.
It's been a great experience. It's not something that I'm not used to. Being a former Division I collegiate tennis player, all of my teammates were international, so it's just been a great experience to get to learn about people from all over the world, different cultures, how people look at things, and it's just been really nice to have such a diverse group of players.
I think having a young team is very positive in many aspects. I think we've got a lot of fire and a lot of determination to win. We're all fresh. No excuses really, just to give. Everyone can put in their maximum effort. I think next year we'll be more experienced than we were this year, as we were from the year before. And I think, yeah, we'll do really well.
The hopes are running high for the GW men's tennis team in the upcoming A10 conference. We got some great input from Coach Browning, Chris, and Jahit, the leaving senior. This is Danny Gill reporting for Unstoppable. Back to you guys.
And now on to women's rowing, where the Varsity 8 fared well at the San Diego Crew Classic, battling through tough weather conditions to finish 4th in the meet with a time of 7 minutes and 34 seconds. The Colonials fell just short of 3rd place as they finished just a 2.5 seconds behind Sacramento State. Our very own Alexis Letty got an official lesson in erging from rower Audrey Herberger.
This is Alexis Letty with GW-TV. I'm here with Audrey Herberger, a rower on the varsity team here at GW. Today, we're going to learn a big part of rowing, erging. Audrey's going to show us how to do it really quickly, and then she's going to break it down for us.
So this is basically what a couple full strokes would look like. We'll start. Alright, so now I'm going to isolate each part of that stroke. So you're going to start at the finish. This is called the finish position. Then it's arms away, body's over, stretch as much as you can, then knees roll up, and then once you get as fully compressed as you can, then you're going to push off. And remember, when you push off, you're first going through your hips. So you push through your hips, then open the body. If you see people erging at elbow, they're probably going to open their body first, and that's not right.
I'm a demonstration of that.
Yeah, so as soon as you're about halfway through the drive, then start to open the body.
All right, so you want to try a couple strokes? Yes.
All right, so it's arms away, body's over, roll up the knees, finish. Arms away, body's over, roll up.
Okay. Think about ready to join the team?
I think so.
Well, that's it. Thank you, Audrey, for joining us today at GWTV.
Thanks, Letty. You did a great job. Thank you for having me, GWTV.
Over to softball now, where the team got off to a rocky start, but has since recovered in a big way. They lost their first 5 games and finished their pre-conference schedule with a losing record, but they've so far been dominant in A10 games. At 5-1, they are tied for first place in the conference. 2 players, Monica Macchiarulo and Megan Lynn, are batting around .400, and pitcher Sarah Koslow has an ERA of just 2.39. If they can keep up their solid conference performances, the girls are looking at a very good season.
Well, Casey, this turnaround is especially impressive considering the fact that they accomplished it once they started A10 play against opponents like LaSalle and St. Bonaventure. And you know, as a coach, you love to see it when your team starts playing their best against the best competition. And as we stated before, conference play is important as the season begins to wind down, and you want to pick up momentum heading into any big tournaments at the end of the season. So I certainly hope the girls can continue the way that they've been playing in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. If there's a place you want to be playing well, it's towards the latter half of the schedule.
And now let's look at baseball, where the team has fared better recently after a rough start to the season. The team has started off 2-1 in A10 play and look to continue that trend over the next couple weeks. Though the team is only 10-18 on the season, they do have several key players on the team, including juniors Bobby Campbell and Joey Bartosik, who will look to lead the team and hopefully bring home some more wins in the future.
Sean, another strength of this team is their starting pitching. They have some issues in the bullpen, but their starters are doing fairly well, especially Shane Sweeney. He had a recent game against LaSalle here at home where he pitched 6 innings of 1-hit baseball, so very impressive performance from him. There's also quite a bit of depth in the order later on in the lineup. We have Cody Bryant. He hit a homer against LaSalle at home, one of the first home runs of the year, so it's looking like a pretty strong team.
Well, and you know, obviously a starting rotation is a key for any baseball team. You know, let's hope that they can use that strength to try and propel them to more wins. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break now, but stay tuned because when we come back, our very own Andy Weber will tell you what games to watch in the coming weeks.
Over the fall semester, GW student athletes have participated in over 4,800 hours of community service throughout the DC metro area. In a competition organized by Helper, GW has completed more service hours than any other NCAA Division I or Division II institution. We are now in our final week. Follow GW Sports and Helper app on Twitter to see the final rankings.
Welcome back to Unstoppable. We're joined now at the desk by Andy Weber. Andy, what's going on in the world of colonial sports?
Thanks, guys. We actually have some very exciting games coming up. On April 13th, softball will be playing a doubleheader against George Mason over in nearby Fairfax at 4 and 6 p.m. Baseball will also face Mason 2 days later on the 15th at Barcroft Park in Arlington. Men and women's track will then compete at the Johns Hopkins Loyola Invitational in Baltimore on the 16th. Although there are not many upcoming home games, many teams will be competing in their conference championships these coming weeks. Stick with us on Twitter to keep track of all of your favorite teams. So guys, while GW Sports are pretty much wrapping up, there's still plenty to look forward to.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to follow us on Twitter at GWTV Unstoppable.
And make sure you tune in next time.